What are the 3 most costly mistakes that most people do when they're buying parts, computer parts for a multiple monitor computer PC that they use at home or to work or for graphic design or for gaming? This one is a really good one. That's video number 2. So basically I've done pretty much every mistakes that I'm about to tell you. I've tried everything in the past 20 years. I did everything wrong, so here it goes. It's actually quite simple, but it's a bit counterintuitive for some of the parts or some of the things. So I'm gonna go through all of the things and I'm gonna try to give you as much detail as possible. So here are the 3 most costly mistakes that people do when they buy computer parts for their computer. The first one, the biggest one, the one I've done countless of other times, because the thing is, you always try to save at every opportunity, and you think like, oh, if they sell it, it's because it works well. Well, it's not the case. So the first error that most people do is trying to go for cheap parts. This is the #1 problem you're gonna run into. It's a pain in the ass. It will make you miserable at almost 99.9% of the time, unless you're really lucky somehow and you're just lucky and you get everything right. You will run into trouble if you buy cheap parts. There are only a few components that you can buy at any price and don't even check the brand, and you're gonna be fine. Those components are the keyboard, the mouse. There are super good mice at like $15 that you're not gonna have any problem with it. There are like the cheapest keyboards, from my experience, are often the best. I've seen so many $100 keyboard, Microsoft keyboard or any other brand like Logitech, that are pure crap. So this is a part where you can buy the cheapest thing, like keyboard, mouse, and monitor. It really doesn't matter. Like these monitor behind are super cheap, especially those one. I think I paid like $120 each, and these one I paid $130 each. So they're really cheap, and for the better part, they do a really good job. And the last thing is the computer case. The computer case, you can pretty much buy anything and you're not gonna have any problem. It's gonna be, if you like to take components in and out, it could be a bit of a hassle if you have a cheaper case, but even then, you know, it's gonna take you 5 minutes more, so it's really not that of a problem. And in some case, there's gonna be like, you can go cheap with video cards, but it really depends on which brand you buy and which type of video card you buy. But most of the time, video cards are pretty good, even the cheapest one. So if you don't do that, if you go for cheap parts and you say you try to save every penny on all over the system, you will run into problem. You will have failure. Most of all, you will lose time and you will have a ton of frustration. There's nothing worse than having your PC crash all the time, or having you know, something crash while you're doing Photoshop, or having instability issues and stuff like that. It really sucks. So what are the parts to watch out for? The first part is the motherboard. The motherboard is the #1 part I would never go cheap on. I would always I've bought cheap motherboards before, and when it starts going wrong, it's awful. Like the best thing to do is a motherboard. Go like a good easy way to shop for it. Go between $170 and $230. Around that range, you'll probably get any brand. You're pretty much gonna get a really good motherboard. The goal is, don't go for the cheapest and don't go for the most expensive. In that case, especially with motherboards, if you go with the expensive motherboard, you'll get like gamer things, gamer boards that are gonna be a pain in the ass to configure, because there's so many settings, and if there's a driver issue, because like it's like an almost limited edition motherboard, there's not going to be any drivers, and it's really a ton of problems. Go for the mainstream high quality motherboard, because it's the part that links everything up. So if you have a bad motherboard, even if your CPU, your processor is fast and your graphic card is fast, everything that links between like the motherboard is slow, then everything on your computer will be slowed down. So it's just really pointless. Okay, for the CPU, you can either go for Intel or AMD, and in either way, they never go wrong. Like CPUs are the kind of thing that never actually break. You'll never run into problem. I've never run into problem in 20 years, and I've changed a lot. So you're pretty much fine. The only thing is, go for a processor that's at least $140 and up, because if you go lower than that, you'll get the cheaper end. Like not the cheaper end, but the, yeah, well, you could say the cheaper end, but you'll get the less expensive end, and these are really slow processor. Like as soon as you boot a couple of like a video and a couple of windows, a couple of programs open, your computer will slow to a crawl. So avoid cheap CPU at all costs. It's gonna be way too frustrating just to save 50 bucks. Like spend that 50 bucks and get at least like a Core i5 or something higher than that. For RAM again, I've had a lot of problems in the last 20 years. RAM is the kind of thing that if you go cheap, if you're lucky again, then everything's fine, even if you buy a cheap RAM. But if you're unlucky, like I was many times, I think at least maybe 15% of my RAM module were bad. So with RAM, if it starts going wrong, it's really hard to find that the RAM is actually the problem. What you're gonna do is your computer will start being really erratic. There's gonna be it's gonna crash, there's gonna be a ton of problems, but they're never gonna be like always at the same time, always when you do one thing. It's really gonna be random, and that's the problem with it. It's one of the reasons why it's so hard. When you have a RAM problem, like the last thing you expect to go wrong is RAM. So you're gonna fix your drivers, you're gonna do like a virus check, you're gonna do like basically always the last thing you're gonna do is a RAM check. And it's even then, when you do a RAM check, sometimes it's not even gonna find the problem. So go never go cheap on RAM. It's awful, it's unfindable, it's really hard to pinpoint, and yeah, you're gonna be so frustrated you're gonna change the whole computer if something goes wrong with the RAM, because you're not gonna be able to find it. So go for higher priced RAM modules. Power supply. Again, the power supply is one thing that can cause a lot of instability. So you need to have at least, I would say at least like 15% or 20% higher wattage than what is recommended for your system. And also go for the really like the top end. It's pretty much one of the only parts where I go really at the top end and not like the mid-range. Buy one of the top power supply, because when your power supply is good, it helps regulate all the variation in current in your house, and you will avoid a ton of problems. Video card, it's a bit touchy. For video card, it's mostly about brands. So basically avoid the cheap brands like Zotac, Galaxy, Sapphire, and go for the really great brand with a really good both customer service and good quality parts, like MSI, Asus, and EVG is pretty good too. So I would really aim for that. But for the price range, you can go all the way to the cheapest. You can buy like a $20 video card in special. Like if you're doing just like basic office work, you do not need to pay above $100. Like a $40 video card is gonna do just fine. But as soon as you go gaming, then you'll have to pay for, you know, at least $150 and above to play games. Hard drives. So in my experience, there's nothing worse than losing the data from your hard drive. Pretty much 50%, like half of every hard drive I've ever bought have failed on me at any point. So basically SSDs are awful. Like SSDs break all the time. Pretty much like 100% of all SSDs I've bought, either in a laptop, like I had a couple MacBook Air. I had 3 MacBook Air in a row, and they all died before 12 months. So that gives you an idea of how SSDs are reliable. They're shit. There's nothing else to say. They're really fast, but they will break. The other thing is for normal HDD hard drives, most of them are really not good. Like if you take a consumer hard drive and you keep it open, like if you work like 8 hours, 10 hours a day, every day, no, a normal hard drive, they will break, really. So you have to aim for any hard drive that has at least a 5-year warranty. And I think if it's changed actually in September 2013, many manufacturers have dropped the warranty level to either from 3 to 2 or even 1 year of warranty for hard drives. I don't know why they did that, but I would really avoid like plague these sort of things. Like go for the 5-year one. Oftentimes it's going to be enterprise grade hard drive. Go for it. If it costs 20% more, go for it. It's really not a place where you want like your computer to crash and to lose your data. So that's really a place. Do not go cheap with hard drives. So 5-year warranty minimum. Mistakes number 2. Mistake number 2 is not having a backup. People assume that the computer is just, it's fine, it works, video's playing, it's never gonna break. Sorry to pop your bubble, but it's really not the case. Computer break all the time, especially if you use them a lot. Especially if you don't care about it, them they will break. So basically you need 2 types of backups. The first one, have a UPS, like a battery pack that you put on the ground where you have all your power cords. The monitor doesn't really matter, but plug the box, plug the computer case in a battery pack, so that if you run out of current or if there is any variation of current like light dimmings and stuff like that, you will be protected. Because if you don't do that, then eventually it will wear your computer down and you're going to have problems, or your computer could just die. Same thing for lightning, like if you have electricity outage, you're gonna have problems. So buy a UPS pack. It's expensive. I think it's like $100–150 for a good one, especially for a computer that's powerful. One of the good thing though is that if there's a problem with the electricity, it will regulate any spikes, but if you run out, it can close your computer by itself. So basically it's just gonna send a signal and your computer will close. So you're not, like if you're not watching or if you're not around, it's gonna close it by itself, which is really awesome. The other thing is, keep a backup of your files and documents. Like it doesn't, like this depends on people. It doesn't matter if you don't have like a full backup that you can just replace, like for example, like there's RAID where you can have at all time a backup of your hard drive. So if one hard drive dies, then the computer just keep running, and Windows will tell you one hard drive have died. You replace it, plug a new one, and just like nothing happened. So you're not going to lose anything. So that's one way to do it. The other way is to have either you do manual backup, so you plug an external hard drive, you do a manual backup every week of your most important files, you put that in a fire safe, and you're good to go. The thing is, you have to do it, and oftentimes people go lazy on it after a while, and then there's a problem, and your last backup is 6 months old. So I wouldn't recommend that, because most people would fail at doing it. The other thing is, there are automatic software that does it. Usually the one that comes bundled with Windows. I would avoid that like plague. It's really really bad. It really sucks. It's gonna crash. It's gonna be faulty. I would really avoid that. So buy a good standalone software to do automatic backups, especially if you can have something that backs up on the cloud, on the internet. That's even better. The last type of backup is the one I use for all my computers. It's basically Dropbox. So every file that I save are always saved on a Dropbox folder, which is like a normal folder on your hard drive, but every time you save something, automatically it backs up on the internet a copy of it. So, and you can have multiple versions too. So I think it's like $100 a year, and it's really inexpensive, and it's really one of the best choice. So as soon as, if your computer dies, you pop up a laptop, even like on the Mac, because I have a Mac and PC. Every time I save a file on the PC, the Mac is gonna have a copy of that file too. So it's almost instantaneous, especially if you're in the same room like this. So it's really awesome. Mistake number 3. Mistake number 3 is buying a computer by yourself, thinking you will do a good job, thinking I don't know, thinking it's easy, I guess. I've done that in the past a lot, and that's why I know so much about computer, but I would not recommend it, because you'll face so many frustration. I've ordered the wrong parts, parts that didn't fit, or you know, whatever, that were bad or didn't fit or whatever, so I had to return and wait, and yeah, and I spent money on parts that were really not good for what I wanted to do. So I would really never recommend on somebody to go right off the bat say, okay, I want to buy a computer like this, I want to build a multiple computer, buy 8 screens, then buy every components and try to mend it together. It sucks. It's not gonna work. It could work, but you're gonna lose a lot of time and you're gonna have problems. So basically, sometimes you can buy the wrong parts. The parts are not gonna fit together. You could break something because you apply too much pressure, or you screw something wrong, or you know, you drop a screw. Like, you really need to have someone to tell you how to do it. You really need to follow like a, you can find videos on YouTube how to do it. Make sure you do, like, have someone beside you, or find videos on YouTube to do it, because otherwise it's really going to suck. Also, if you try to do something and you run into any problem, you're not gonna know how to troubleshoot it. If your drivers are not updated, then how are you gonna know? Like, there are many things that you really specifically have to know when you're building a computer. So it's always good to have someone knowledgeable, or like a step-by-step instruction. So yeah, so basically I know this because I've lost ton of money, ton of time throughout the year doing everything by myself, and you know, looking back, I wish I didn't do that, because it caused me like a ton of frustration. Now I'm glad that I know, but honestly, I would have much better paid someone to do it, or have a friend come over and then help me with that. Alright, so I hope this helps. If you take a look at below the video, there's going to be a couple of parts for each of the components that I talked about, to give you an example of what type of computer parts you should be looking for. Just be careful, like if you buy any of those parts separately, be sure that they fit together, because they're not going to all necessarily fit together. So you have to be really careful with that, especially with motherboard and video cards. They're not all, any motherboard cannot necessarily take both cards, so you need to be really careful for that.